Hello again and welcome back to this course on fundamentals of data science. And today we are going to discuss some information about data mining. So main objective of today's class is to deal with the data mining, also some information about NLP, in other words the actual process of natural language processing. And this natural language processing is a very deep field, and in fact these days it's kind of a mature field. So we are not going to we are not going to discuss about the details of this NLP in general. Rather, we are just going to focus on one aspects of information retrieval. Well, coming to about this introduction to data mining, as we know that this data mining is also one of the major part of machine learning. In other words, sometimes it's loosely linked with machine learning itself. And the knowledge discovery in database, in other words KDD, is one of the important steps of data mining. Generally speaking, data mining is a process of discovering patterns in large data sets involving methods at intersection of machine learning, statistics and database systems. You can consider this data mining as an interdisciplinary subfield of computer science statistics with an overall goal to extract or retrieve information with certain intelligent methods. So sometimes we may have to transform the information into comprehensible structures for further use. So that's the basic idea behind the data mining. So we are going to see how this data mining can also be a part of data processing, and also at times it also helps a lot in actual inference of the data, even data pre-processing. When it comes to this actual data mining process, actually we analyze the data from different perspective and summarize it into certain useful information. We are trying to discover the patterns of large data sets and helping the merging industries to target their product and advertisements towards the customers. For that, these days data minings are used a lot. And one of the main reasons why we go for, or why do we need this data mining, is that we have huge amount of informations that is available. We know that the huge big data is there. So this huge big data, you can retrieve certain informations from this huge data. You can retrieve the informations. In other words, information retrieval can happen by means of these data. And another challenge is that most of these data are unstructured. Because it's unstructured, we may have to do certain pre-process to make sure that this data are useful for processing. Here is some of the history of the data mining. Basically, we know that we want to identify the patterns. So this originally started a long time ago, and we know that also we have solid information about how the Bayes theorem that helps in this pattern relationship. That was around 1700s. Then comes the regression analysis around 1800s. Then we had the neural network analysis, clustering analysis, genetic algorithms, decision trees, decision rules, support vector machines, a lot of other algorithms have been developed which actually supports data mining in some way or other. So which means that we are trying to find a pattern, trying to predict a pattern, trying to cluster informations, trying to separate these informations. In other words, we are actually retrieving the informations. It can be from a text, it can be from a sound as well. So whatever it is, like we are trying to retrieve the information. Yes, as far as the data mining is concerned, so this data mining has been in many places, as we can see here. So data mining involves 6 common classes or tasks, as we see here. So based on this task, like initially we can think about an anomaly detection. So when you have a huge amount of information, and you can think about the anomaly detection, which means that it's kind of an outlier detections or any deviation that you detect from the actual data that you have in hand. Maybe you have a huge data that is in your hand, and then you are trying to identify any of those anomalies. Then you can use actually association rules or dependency modeling. You are trying to associate 2 different things that are happening, maybe in a different ways, as Bayes' theorem also uses 2 different associations, and then try to find is there any relationship that really exists or not. As we know that the person who buys the milk also buys the bread. There is some association that you are developing. In other words, there is some kind of dependency. Maybe some people who buy the bread also buys the egg. That's another dependency. So this dependency can be developed actually by means of various association rules. Then we talked a lot about this clustering, classification, regressions. These are some of the basic machine learning methods. Clustering can be found by means of similarity matrix. You can cluster the data points that has similarity based on again Euclidean distance, and classification can also be done with various methods. The classification can also be do sentiment analysis, or it can also be used for review systems, or it can be used to classify, say, a table and chair or men and women. There are a lot of thousands of classifications can be performed. Again, that's another data mining approach. Regression can be used for classification, or it is mainly used for prediction. You can see a pattern and then you can expect what patterns can happen in the future. Summarization, like video summarization, audio summarizations, or some of the topics that is of interest in case of data mining. Let's see some more information where we can actually use this data mining. For example, data minings are widely used in banking. You try to extract information about the customers and try to see whether this customer belongs to low income group or high income group or medium income group, and what is his credit score, for example. So in those aspects you can actually use that in the banking sector. Not only banking, we can also think about educational sectors, insurance, telecommunications, and multimedia or retail. These are some of the areas where we can actually directly use data mining, which means it has a wide applications. So what are the types of data gathered? In other words, what are the types of data mining gathered? So we can talk about, say, you can gather information about business transaction, or these days even people gather information about their purchase. So you go and purchase every day in different places, like going to a mall or going to, say, a convenience store. You're going to a mart, you're going to different places, you're filling your gas. So there are a lot of places where you go and pay for the services and you buy some things. All these transactions that you do can be of vital importance for some companies. They want to retrieve this information, try to understand user behavior, where they spend money, and accordingly they try to help in some ways try to analyze with these data in hand. Just imagine that in one city that you have all the information about all the citizens on how they spend their money for the entire day, for the entire week, for the entire month, for the entire year, for entire decade, and then with this information you can actually gather and analyze this entire process. You can actually mine this information. That's where we talk about the huge big data is there. You're going to mine these data and try to retrieve the informations which are quite useful for us. Likewise, there are a lot of other data mining systems can be used for medical and personal data can be used. Surveillance videos and pictures. You can see all this huge data of surveillance. It is available and it can be used for various applications. Apart from that, we do have sports data. We know that a lot of sports is happening around the world. These days, just by means of having the entire game, for example, the entire game is like 2 hours, and if you want to see just the highlights for 2 minutes, can you do it automatically, like using data mining process? So that's where we call it as summarization. The video for 2 hours can be summarized into 2 minutes. We call video summarization. Or a speech, a 1 hour speech, can you summarize into just 1 minute? That is speech summarization. But this summarization, as it happens automatically, it should also make sense. So these days we have advanced algorithms of data mining which does it quite good. For example, if you talk about a football game, all the goals will be in the highlight, as well as some of the penalty shootout or any red cards given can be included. These are some of the examples of how the actual mining process happens in different areas. Still, there are a lot of other areas where you can think about can be of use. Types of data mining, we come across descriptive type, predictive type, prescriptive type. As you can see, descriptive is the ones we have already seen some examples, including the association rules of principal component analysis, affinity groupings. Predictive is regression types, SVM, support vector machine, decision tree. And prescriptive is like predictive analytics plus rules we are adding, and marketing optimization can be done by means of that approach. Data mining architecture, this is a general architecture, you can find it here. So you have a knowledge base, and then you can see with a graphical user interface, you are actually connected with the various pattern evaluation. So we are trying to extract information or information retrieval. We are trying to identify the patterns. Then you have the data mining engine, and you are also connected with the data warehouse or database servers, connecting there. In this process, you have to clean data, integrate data, and select the data. So these are the initial steps, because we are gathering the data from either sensors or World Wide Webs or database or data warehouse or other data repositories. So from there you are gathering the data. As we gather the data, you have to, at times you have to integrate the data, aggregate the data, clean the data, and do the selection process. So this is the actual hierarchy of how the actual data mining architecture functions. And as we perform these operations, whenever you find some informations are useful, you are going to save it to the knowledge base. Various technologies have been used for data mining. We use statistics, we use AI, machine learning, model identifications, a lot of other computing mechanisms including the database technology, parallel computing, distributed computing. These are some of the methods we use for mining. And these are some of the steps in knowledge discovery. So knowledge discovery is another important aspect. Knowledge discovery in database is one of the important aspect. As we can see, it's again nothing but we are trying to extract the information, or information retrieval from the database can be said as a knowledge discovery. It's not just about just one information, the information which is knowledgeable, which gives us knowledge, which eventually after performing certain simple analysis or simple task, you actually retrieve the knowledge from the informations. So you have the data, you are going to clean the data, you are going to integrate the data, you are going to select data. So removing the noise on irrelevant data initially, and then you perform various tasks like including data transformation, and then data mining happens, during which time you are going to evaluate various patterns. The different data patterns are evaluated, and finally you are going to get this knowledge out of the database, which is nothing but the knowledge representation. So this is the thought about the general outline of data mining, and we are going to look at one example of how this can be done. Data mining is used in many areas, and one place where we use is called the natural language processing. And this natural language processing is a subfield of linguistics and computer science and information engineering and artificial intelligence. So we know that natural language processing is used in, say, Google Assist, Alexa, or some of the examples, Siri, and we have other products like Nugu. So these are some of the products where we can see how the natural language processing is used, and currently it's been also been widely used in chatbots. But there are lots of challenges that people have come across when they use this natural language processing, in fact natural language understanding. So as far as natural language is concerned, it's quite easy for humans to understand what is what, but as far as machine is concerned, they don't really understand what is going on. So let's look at some of the challenges with regards to this NLP and how the information retrieval and understanding, in which process we are actually discovering the knowledge, is very hard. So here is the process of data mining for in NLP. We have this big text data. With respect to text, we are going to consider now, and with this text data we are going to see various natural language content analysis can be done, and accordingly you can actually do the recommendation process, you can also do the search process, but main objective is to retrieve the small relevant information from the big text data, right. So we are going to take this small relevant informations from this big text data, and in this process there are a lot of methods we can come across, we can use to do that. Let's look at this example and we will observe how challenging things might go. Okay, look at this sentence. For example, a dog is chasing a boy. So as we can see in this figure also, we can represent the sentence in many different ways. First, we can always represent a sentence as a string of characters, right. We have a dog is a string of characters, or even you can think about the actual true language it's been spoken here. So this is perhaps the most general way of representing the text. In general, we talk about this particular case. So when we perform certain segmentation of words, for example, a dog is chasing a boy on the playground, we are actually performing the word segmentation here. So in this example, a sentence, we get features like dog and chasing. So this is some of the features of the sentence. So how do we represent the whole features, and how do we identify what words represent certain features? Some of these are challenging parts. So you have to identify the words that are most frequently used in particular documents, so that you can understand what this whole document talks about. Well, anyway, this place what we discuss here is just one sentence here. So the part of speech tagging is done in this case. So let's try to understand further on this context and see how this can help us to understand the whole system. So a dog is a noun phrase is there, and then you have the complex verb of chasing is given, and again a boy is there, a noun phrase is there, and we are trying to understand this language, how it has been used by combining two words. It's not just character, it's not words. Now we are combining two words to understand how and what this particular part of speech is been representing. So you are trying to tag all these speeches and try to get hold of what is actually happening. So if you go further on this semantic analysis, you might be able to recognize a dog as an animal, and you can recognize a boy as a person, and you can also recognize the playground as a location, and you try to analyze some relationship between these three. So maybe one deductions you can come across is that dog was chasing the boy and the boy is in the playground. So we try to add more features to it, try to see this as a string of characters, a sequence of word, as semantic structures, what are the entities and similarities that are given here, and any logical predicates are there in this whole system. Try to understand how they are related and from whose viewpoint this sentence is being spoken. So there are a lot of areas you can think about in this case. I will just skip off these two slides here to understand how this can be taken out. So there are a lot of ambiguity in the language, so that whenever we have a language in human communication is very easy, but for as far as the machines are concerned, it's very hard for the machines to understand the common sense. So unless we train the system, the so-called the common sense is there nowhere there. For example, in this example we have seen a dog is chasing a boy on the playground. What is the common sense that you can think about? You might feel that since dog is chasing, probably the boy is in danger. That's one way to think about. And what are the other things that you can think about this particular aspect? Maybe somebody is talking about this sentence, right? The third person is talking about this particular sentence. Yes, there are a lot of challenges when it comes to the language. So when we retrieve the information using data mining process, it's not easy for us to fully comprehend the use of it. For example, like the word apple can have many ambiguity. Apple as a fruit, for example, apple as a company name, and design can also have many ambiguity. For example, you look at the sentence, a man saw a boy with a lens. So The man saw a boy with a lens. So who has the lens, boy or the man? And there's another one, like he quit smoking implies he smoked before. So you could say this one should be said as he quit drinking implies that he was drinking before. So this is some of the implications, like presuppositions. In other words, there are some things that are understood from the sentence. For example, he quit drinking, which means that he was drinking in the past. So that is something that we understand. So likewise, there are a lot of other ambiguities you can find in the sentence. Here John persuaded Bill to buy a TV for himself. Again, the himself, is it John or Bill? So this is another ambiguity. So with this thought, you can again look at this sentence. You can see a lot of similarities and a lot of inferences that you can think about. So from whose point has been spoken, or what is the actual relationship that you can extract, and what is the sentiment here, what is the actual sentiments that is happening. And there are a lot of things, unfortunately, we were not able to understand in this particular thought. So actually, what is parsing and what is the percentage of parsing, this part of speech tagging, what is the percentage. So whenever we talk about such things, we have to understand not only the word ambiguity as a sentence, sometimes the whole sentence has the ambiguity. So there is a lot of challenges that comes along the way with regards to these kind of sentences. So it's about just one sentence. Just imagine the whole article or the whole speech. So in different context, the same word can have different meaning. So not only in English, we talk about every languages they have the same problem. Like sometimes one word can mean several things in several different contexts, and how does the machine understands the context. Sometimes the context is based on the season during which it is said. Sometimes the context is based on the time it is spoken. Sometimes the context is based on to whom it is spoken, in what way it is spoken. Sometimes a phrase or a sentence or a word can be considered as a rude. Maybe in other context can be considered as a friendly statement. So likewise, we have to understand how this whole system of language processing happens, and how the system understands our understanding is not that much easy. So that's what we have for here. And there are a lot of applications of text mining. You can see that in security applications, biomedical applications, software applications, online media applications, business and marketing applications is another one, sentiment analysis, scientific literature mining, digital humanities. So these are some of the examples, but still a lot more examples you can think about as far as text mining is concerned. So this is what we saw today. We discussed about the data mining in general, and also we talked about information retrieval, especially with respect to NLP. So with this thought, actually we can conclude today's lecture, and what we are going to look at in next week is, or next session is, about training data and learning rate. So that will be target for our next session. I am looking forward to see you there in the next session. Until then, goodbye.